Hello, my name is Shauna Karen with the Training Department at Conservice, and today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about using the Synergy tab of our website to find information about the utility bills for your property. To get started, you'll just need to go to our website, which is www.conservice.com. From there, you'll click on the Login button here in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. At this point, you'll enter your username and password. And then you'll be directed to our page. You'll see that there are a number of tabs across the top of the page that correspond with the various service and products we offer. The first tab, then the one that you'll land on first, is the Welcome tab. In this area of the screen, you'll see a video that you can view. It's about just under 3 minutes. Clicking this little play icon right here will start it. It'll just introduce you to the navigation components of the site as well as a general overview of the resources available to you. So if you have someone new at your property, this is a great place for them to start to get some orientation to our website. Today we're going to be talking about the Synergy tab, but before we do that, I do want to point out these icons over here on the upper right-hand corner of the screen. The first one is a Contact Us icon. Looks like an address card. And if you click on that, a window will pop up indicating who at Conservice you would contact for various issues. For anything related to utility invoices that have been generated by utility providers and sent to Conservice for processing and payment, you would go to your Synergy manager for help with those questions. In this case, that's Brian Olson, and you can see his address here. We also have Melissa Nielsen, who's the General Account Manager for Capstone. She primarily is working with managers in the Capstone corporate offices to resolve issues, but if you're not able to reach your Synergy manager, you could also reach out to Melissa. Jerry is the salesperson, and our customer service line is listed here at the bottom. This is primarily for residents, so if you have a resident who's received a vacant invoice from us for utility charges and they have questions, we hope that you'll send those questions to us, and we'd be glad to answer those and help that resident. Our call center is actually located right here in our corporate headquarters, and it's fully staffed so that a live person will answer every call that comes in during our extended business hours. For Central Time, that's 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. So as your residents call us during those times, they'll be able to talk to a utility expert almost immediately. So would hope that you would keep this information handy and feel comfortable sending your residents to us for assistance. Again, we got to that Contact Us screen by clicking this Contact Us icon right here. The next icon over looks like a house, and this is a custom navigation element for our site. If you find that there's one particular page of our site that you're visiting more often than any others, the next time you're on that page, go ahead and click this home icon, and that'll make it so that the next time you log on to the site, you'll come directly to that particular page. So it just helps you get to where you want to go a little bit quicker. The third icon over is Settings. This is where you would go if you needed to change your password for the site. We've set up kind of a general password, and if you'd like to change that to something unique, you could do that here. The fourth icon is my favorite, and hopefully I think it's the most important, and that's how you can access the embedded training resources with the site. So it looks like a question mark. If you click on that icon, you can see the training window come up. The first tab of that training window provides a video for help on that specific page. If you're not set up to watch a video or you'd rather read the information, just click on this second tab right here, and that'll give you the same information in an article format. And then finally, if you have someone at your property who you'd like to request training for, just come to this Request Training tab, fill out the form, and we'll reach out to them and schedule a one-on-one training session. So again, we got to those training resources by clicking on this question mark icon right here, and that opened up that training page. So from this point forward, your utility bills should be sent directly to Conservice from the provider. So as the provider generates those bills, We are in the process of contacting each of them and indicating to them the change of address so that those bills will begin to come to us instead of to you. In the meantime, if you happen to receive a utility bill from a utility provider for your property, we ask that you please forward that bill to us as quickly as possible. One, so that we can get it processed and paid in a timely manner, but also so that we can work with that utility provider to make sure the change of address occurs so that future utility invoices will come directly to us. So to do that, if you could just email those invoices to synergytransition@conservice.com, then we can take care of that for you. So once we begin receiving those utility bills, you won't have to worry about finding those bills, reviewing them for accuracy, and paying those amounts. We're going to do all of those things for you. And the Synergy tab of our website is going to be where you're going to come if you have questions or want to see a bill image or see when an invoice was paid. You'll come online and find that information quickly and easily. So when you first click on the Synergy tab, you'll be on the main page. And this is an overall dashboard view of the utility invoice situation at your property in the present time. So we can see over here on the left-hand side just a pie graph indicating how much of the total utility expenses are made up of which utilities. So this particular property, we can see that gas is kind of a bigger chunk of the utilities, followed next by electricity. Over here in the middle, you see a gauge of the number of utility invoices we expect that have come in so far this month. So we can see of the invoices we expect to receive on your behalf, we have received all of those and processed those. So you can rest assured that if an invoice is late or getting to us, we are keeping track of what's come in, and if there's something that's missing, we're going to actively go out and try to get that information. Over here on the upper right hand side is a listing of each of the invoices, or a summary of the invoices received, what invoices we've requested funds from Capstone for, the number of invoices we've paid, and the total vacant cost recovery so far. And we'll talk about each of those in a little bit more detail in a bit. In this bottom area of the screen, you'll see some additional utility expense information. As your history with us grows, this graph will grow to include more months, up to 12 months will be listed here. And as you hover over the elements of the graphs here, you'll be able to see the corresponding dollars amounts. So far in March, we have received utility invoices totaling just over $21,000 for this particular property, and that compares nicely with what we received in February and also January. A year from now, you'll see a second element of this graph that indicates how much we received in the same month in the previous year. So that'll allow you to see some trends really quickly. If your utility invoice amounts are trending up or down from month to month, and how they compare to the same period of time in the previous year. If you'd like to filter this graph to indicate just specific utilities, you can do that. If I only wanted to look at water, for example, I could click on this water tab, and now these amounts are just reflecting the water. So we can see that from February to March, our water expense has gone down a little bit. Another nice thing about this graph is that as you click on the elements of the graph itself, you'll be taken to the search page with the utility invoices that are making up that total already filtered and found for you. So this is a nice, quick, easy way to get to the current utility bills, and I'll show you how we can use this page a little bit more in just a second. So again, that's that main page, just a nice overview of the Synergy performance at your property. So I've showed you one way to get to some utility invoices information by clicking on the elements of this graph, but you can also go directly to the invoice search page by choosing invoice from this blue bar up here. From here, you'll be on the Find Utility Invoices, You can then use these various filters and boxes to fine-tune your search to help you get right to the image that you're looking for. One way that you could do that is by using the dates up here. If I leave the due date and the month and then click search, I'm going to be returned all of the invoices that are due in the current billing month. So only a couple so far. If I move this date back a month and do the search, you can see that we have a lot more to choose from here. So just like on the previous page, these tabs are by utility. So if you want to filter the results by utility, you could easily just click trash, and then you'll be left with the one trash invoice for this property for the month. Anytime you click on the account number over here, the utility invoice image will open up. From here you can save it if you'd like. Another way that you can save the image is to come over here and select any of these invoices that you want to save, and then click this PDF icon, and the site will export those invoices out into a single PDF file and download that on your computer. So that's a way that you can quickly save multiple invoices if you would like. Let me back up a little bit and talk a little bit more about these search filters up here. If you want to, instead of searching by the due date, you could instead choose bill date or paid date, and the results would vary down here depending on which date type you've chosen. If you want to do a specific date range, you could also use this calendar picker right here to put a very specific date range in. And if you happen to know an account number, you could fill it in there, or if you want to look at specific utility providers, you can do that as well. And so that'll allow you to fine-tune that search considerably to help you get right to the invoice that you want to look for quickly and easily. Once you're looking at this, the results, there's some information on this line that will help you know what's going on with that utility invoice. This C would indicate that this invoice is for common area charges. So the charges on this invoice are for the property in general. Instead, other times you might see a V there, which would indicate a vacant charges. Let me just see if I can change the search parameters here. So we can see down here, this particular invoice, V's would indicate that the amounts on that invoice were for charges associated with a specific unit at your property. So as this invoice opens, if we scroll down a little bit further, we can see the detail that there are actually charges on this invoice for many units at the property. And in some cases, there are instances where residents in those units should have put service in their name, and the property is being charged for those units, and we're going to detect that usage and send those residents an invoice so that they can pay for that electricity. So again, that was we realized that because there's a V there for vacant, and R indicates recovery. So V indicates there are charges that are associated with a specific unit, and R indicates that there is someone in that unit that should be paying for that usage. We can also see the service period of the invoice, the bill date, the date the provider generated the invoice, the due date, process date, funds requested, that's the date that we contacted Capstone and asked for money to pay that invoice. We can see when Conservice received the funds from Capstone, when we paid the provider, and then the total amount there. So if you ever have any questions about what utility invoices have been paid and when, you just would simply need to search for that invoice, and in this grid you can see that information. So the Find Utility Invoices page is a great resource for you to come and see information about the invoices we've processed, as well as to view the bill images and even download those images. One of the services that we provide in processing your utility invoices is that we actually audit every bill that we receive from a provider. So we're going to look over that bill and make sure everything looks okay. If there's an instance where we detect maybe some high usage or an anomaly with the date range or some other issue, then we're going to flag that invoice as an exception. And if you come to the AP Finance area and then exceptions, you'll be able to see any of that information. And here we can see that there are a few instances where we've detected some exceptions. So if you click on the exception, you can see the information about that. So we assign each invoice a control number. Here are the dates associated with that bill. If you wanted to see the image, you could click right there, and the image would open. But we can also see that the reason it's an exception is because of a vacant recovery exception, and we assign an amount or a limit on a cost per day, and this particular invoice is varying from that. So here we can see on the action log that we are currently researching the exception, and we'll note this, put some notes here when they become available. Our general process is, in many cases when we flag an exception, our team will look at the issue, and we may be able to just look at the history and be able to clear that exception just from what we can see. But we also may email the property for some additional information or help with that exception. So whether or not, if you get those emails, it would be helpful if you've got some information that could explain the variance, if you could share that with us. In either case, we're going to research it and resolve that issue with the utility provider if necessary. So for you, that just means that you can rest assured that we're going to make sure that the providers are not passing on any billing errors to you, and that you really will just pay them the correct amounts for those utility invoices. I mentioned earlier that we're going to monitor all the invoices that we receive from utility providers for vacant usage. That way, if residents have neglected to put service in their name, we can help find those instances and bill the residents for their usage. So if we go to the vacants and then vacant cost recovery, we can see those instances. So for the current month, for the utility invoices that are due in April, we can see that so far we have 15 instances for a total of nearly $2,500 where residents at this property have neglected to put service in their name. So if you click on the date there, then we can expand this and we can see the results. And if we scroll down, we can see all 15 of those. Now, if you notice, some of them have a red flag. That indicates that this isn't the first time that we've received an invoice where this resident has not put service in their name. So we call them a repeat offender. That just means that we've billed them for vacant charges on more than one occasion. So if you want to see additional information, you would just click on the resident's name. And here we can see the current vacant charges. So we can see the bill. Clicking on that link will open the utility invoice that we've received from the provider that has those charges on it. Clicking the PDF icon right here will open the invoice we actually sent to that particular resident. Then the service period will be listed, the due date, and the remarks, and then the total amount. So in this case, we detected that this resident used $78 worth of electricity, and then we're also going to bill them $50 as a service fee. The amount of that service fee is going to vary a little bit from property to property. It's meant to be a little bit punitive. We want those residents to get the service changed, and we retain a portion of that, and the rest goes to Capstone. So if you have residents that come in with questions about a bill they've received from us that has vacant electric charges or vacant gas or a service fee, again, the first thing would be to have them call us and we walk them through the process. But if you want to try to help them, you could come to the Vacants tab and Vacant Cost Recovery and view this information. So I won't take the time in this training to cover all of the other resources that are available on the Synergy tab of the site, but just know if you go to any of these pages, you can click on that training icon and watch the video for help on that specific page. Now, one more thing I would like to show you is the reports. So if you click on reports here, you'll be taken to our reports page in the Synergy section. I won't go through and show you all of these, but I just want to show you how it works in general. So first thing you'll do is click a report, and then you'll be asked to most likely enter some parameters. In this case, that's a date range. So I'm just going to type a date range here and then click View Report. Might take a minute or two for it to generate, depending on what kind of data we're looking at. But in this case, we're looking at a comparison between the cost and the usage for utilities adjusted to fit a calendar. So for any report that you pull, you do have several export options. You can export as CSV, PDF, or Excel are the most commonly used formats, but that'll allow you to save that report and its data on your computer and even open it up in Excel where you can further sort and use that information. So again, we got there by clicking the reports, and so you could, if you were so inclined, to come here and spend some time poking around at those reports and seeing what kind of data you can see in that area. So with that, I'll close this Synergy training session. Hopefully the information has been helpful and you'll be able to find utility invoice information quickly and easily. Thanks for your attention, guys.